So you can see the picture here. And I know I tried to replicate the picture, but I just realized that we just need more colors. So we're going to throw in more colors today. You can see that there are some leaves that are much behind and some are in the front. So we're going to try to make the front ones more colorful and the ones behind a little lighter. And you can see this effects here, these blurry effects. This is very interesting, and I'm going to teach you how to do this. This takes a little bit of time, but I'm going to explain how we actually approach this whole thing. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to try this, and you just need a little bit of paper towel or anything like a napkin or anything. Or if you have like magic eraser that's from your kitchen, this will make it easier. So it's just like a sponge. It's called magic eraser. This is used a lot in watercolors to get rid of some paint or get some effects. So if you have this, fine. Otherwise, if you don't have it, it's okay. There is, you can use the paper towels, and that should also do the job. So you can see the colors here are very, very easy, just mostly yellows and reds and orange. But we're going to throw some more colors in, like some leaves are still green, some brown, some purple or burgundy. And you know how the whole nature is transforming. So that's what we're going to keep in mind. So we'll get into the colors now, and you can see that all the colors I have two types of blues. This is like ultramarine, and this is a darker blue, yellows, greens. I have some raw sienna. I have some rose. I have some orange. I have some brown. So whatever colors you can find, it's okay. You can still make this painting even with just 2 or 3 colors, or the more you have, the more colorful it's going to look. And we're going to start slowly by one shape or section at a time. But before that, I want you to know a few techniques in watercolors, and so that you know when to use what or how much water to use. So one of the techniques in watercolors is wet on dry, which means the paper is dry and the paint is wet. Next, we're going to do another technique, and this is you wet the paper first with some plain water, and then you take some wet paint. So this is called wet on wet. Okay. And then there's another last technique. It's called dry brush. So I'm just going to take away most of the water from my brush, make it really dry. And I'm just going to do like a dry brush technique. And you can even see the texture here and some sound. So these are the 3 techniques we're going to follow. Other than that, when I say how much water to use or how lighter to use, that the easiest way to understand that is you take some very, very light paint, almost watery, and we're going to call this tea. Then we're going to add a little more of paint, and we're going to call this coffee. Last, we're going to add some more paint, less water, and we're going to call this milk. Then we're going to add some more paint, less water, and this is called cream. Lastly, I'm going to take away most of the water from my brush, and this thick paint almost out of the tube is called butter. So you can see that we got this lot of consistencies. So when I say we're going to keep it light, you can think that I'm talking about either tea or coffee. It's going to be lighter, more water. When you say light, more water. When you say dark, it could be more paint. So we're going to keep this in mind and make sure that we keep these value consistencies so that it looks real and three-dimensional. So where do we start a painting like this? Well, we can start with something on the left-hand side, this leaf or this shape. And I'm going to do wet on wet. So I'm going to wet this area with plain water. It's really dry in the room, so you may have to go again and add a little more water. That's okay. I'm going to take some yellow. Simultaneously, I'm going to take some rose. Maybe some brown on the top. You see that? So we've got so many variations of colors with the wet on wet technique, right? Where the colors just blend without you doing much of the work. The painting is happening by themselves, right? Same way, we're going to move on to the next leaf. And here you can see there are two leaves that are overlapping, which is fine. I think I lost the drawing a little bit. I'm just going to add it. And I'm going to same use some yellow maybe. And see, I'm going to just charge these colors a little bit, keep it ready. Basically, I'm just going to take some water and keep them wet, clean it, so that when I need to use them, they're ready. Okay, with the green. The purples. Okay. Again, my idea is to keep it light. Light, which means less paint and more water. Wet on wet really makes beautiful, soft, glowing paintings because the colors are just doing their work. We take some red and orange mixed together. And on the top, I'm going to add some purples maybe. Okay. And you can see some colors are just running to the other area, which is fine, which is exactly the kind of effect that we need. We want some effect here. We're going to leave this leaf alone because we already have something wet here and I don't want to disturb the layers, so we're going to come back. We can move on to the right hand side here. Again, we can play with colors here. With this kind of painting where it's wet and where you have a lot of colors going on, you don't have to really follow the color palette that I'm using. You can make them a little more brown. You can make them a little more yellow. You can make them a little more red. But the point is to keep the values in check, right? And you can see that in your black and white image, that how light these colors are and how dark these leaves are, right? So that's very important. And this one is a bit dark, so I'm going to just keep it a little dark here with some intermingling of colors. Okay. Next, we can move on to this one. This is almost like medium, some light, some dark. How about we try with some yellows and browns? I'm going to start right from the stem. Notice I'm not using wet on wet here. I'm actually using dry. But while this is wet, I'm going to take the paint so that they can all almost like sing together. And whatever colors makes you happy, you can just add here. It is really about your painting with this kind of subjects. You can see that no matter what you put on the paper, they're going to glow. It's just more about the values that we decided. But otherwise, this is just so much about your own favorite colors that sings to you. I'm going to just darken this a little bit. Okay. Next, if you can see, there are overlapping leaves here, which is fine. I think it's a good idea that how we can transform this whole thing with the one behind and one on the top, right? So I'm going to continue this as one shape. Okay. This way, you can actually have a lot of fun to see how they come out. If you overlap them. Okay. But because this is a big shape, I don't want you to get overwhelmed. So we're going to go slowly. Okay. So how about we start with this one first? This is closer. We can do wet on wet. I'm going to do my clean water first. Keeping it lighter than the stem we have. to finish this area. Next, we can go to these 1, 2, 3. Now, I am doing it in small sections so that you have more control. I can just wet this whole thing and continue, but I really want more control. So that's why I'm just going to keep it lighter. Okay. Um, yeah, we can do this one shape together. Okay. Or 1, 2, 3, the small 3. Same. I'm going to keep it wet on wet. It just gives me a better soft peeling than the wet on dry. And again, maybe we can do this one a little more on the brown side. Some yellow. And take some purple on the sides. Okay. Next, we can go with this shape. Okay. I'm just making this painting a lot of fun that we can do it in this one big shape. We can create so many different small shapes. So that's why I'm creating it as if they're all one big shape, but still a lot of character in each leaf. It just gives you so much more opportunities to try and experiment with different colors. And like I said, I am just picking colors that I like, and I'm just going into a wet on wet direction. You can choose your own colors because, like I said, I don't want you to just stick to just a yellow and a red, because how many opportunities you have in fall or a fall leaf to really do your best. You have so many opportunities here. You can just make your own version of magic here. Okay. Again, I'm going to treat this 1, 2, 3 as one big leaf again. So we're going to start here. Same, wet on wet. And why not all bring everything together? I'm not going to touch the stem for now. If you want, you can overlap something there. That's okay. Okay. Again, I'm going to start with the same. Maybe I can start with orange and some raw sienna. Add that bit of green somewhere. You can see all the amalgamation of colors that is going on here. Add more yellows wherever you can. Make it look real, like a leaf. Okay. So we are done with this area. You can, we can do this brown here. I'm just trying to keep it dark on this side. Again, keeping in mind how wet this is. Maybe we can wait. I don't want to disturb the layers. Okay. So you can see that how all the colors are getting into each other. Okay. And now what we can do is we can add another layer of colors on these because I want this to dry before I get into the uh, background here. The background of something like this can be left as it is, but it is fall and the colors are just dancing around. So I thought, why not make a very, very fun background, right? So, but first, I'm going to fix or complete the layers of the leaves. Okay. So now they're all looking flat, but we need a little bit of layering here. So I need to add some darker layers here. Okay. So let's start by this layer. If it's dry, I'm going to wet it a little bit and I'm going to add some, again, darker layers here to make it stand out. On this end, again, this is dry, so I can go ahead and wet this. And maybe not throughout, but at least in the corners where I think there'll be a difference of values. We can come on this left-hand side and add something in the middle. I'm just going to add some water only in the middle. Maybe some browns. Some greens. Some slight reds just to make the middle a little more stand out. Okay. I'm going to take the small corner and add some dark here, like a red. And then this could be yellow. Keeping it light. I'm going to also add a little bit of brown here. Some green. Reds. This is still quite wet, so we're not going to touch this, but we can go on with this one. I just want a little darker layer on the edges here. So I'm just going to add some brown. Some more red here. And at this point, all I'm looking at my black and white image and adding layers. Okay. While this is drying, we can actually do the stem. Now the stem here is really dark, so that's something I want to keep in mind. But we don't have to do like one flat color here. We can mix the colors slightly as we paint. Okay. So the first, we're going to do this red. I'm just going to add some purple here, red and purple mix to make it really dark. I just feel this needs a little bit of yellow. Add some yellow here. So yellow dries very light. So sometimes you have to go and add some more to it. Okay. So while this dries, we can go on with the background here. Again, the background can be very different. We can keep it super light or go dark, but somewhat we have to go a little bit uh, darker on this side. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. Okay. So before we start the background, I want to mix a lot of color on my palette because I'm going to go this as wet on wet. And once we have this paper wet, we are going to go very fast. So I'm going to take whatever colors I want. I have the raw sienna, I have the yellows, the purples, the blues, the greens. I'm going to just keep it mixed so that when I need it, I'm ready to go. You can see that I'm just mixing a lot of color with a lot of water on my palette, not mixing anything together. I'm just going to use them individually. Just keep them ready to go. And what I'm going to do is like some edges are going to be darker, some lighter. But as you can see, these yellows here in the picture, it just means it's going to be lighter. You don't have to put yellow, but you have to keep it light. Okay. So I'm going to keep this in mind and then go on from here. Okay. So I'm not going to paint this area, but the rest I'm going to. So, but first I need to wet this area. Now, keep in mind that some of your layers are still wet. So go slow. If you like, we can go slowly from here. Okay. I'm going to just take some yellow, a little bit of orange and or raw sienna. Just keep it. Then this area, I'm going to wet it, but keeping in mind that the middle area is still white or no paint. Okay. We need to make sure that white is not painted because that's going to give the glow in the painting. I'm just taking just taking the brown and the yellow in nice dark quantities, which means less of water and more of paint. Slowly, I'm going to get into a lot of these small areas. Okay. Near the stem, it's going to be light because I want the stem to stand out. So you should see the value. Always refer your black and white image and see which is light and dark. See, this is light, this is dark. So these are the things you need to keep in mind when you're painting. And sometimes you'll have to come back and readjust a few things. I'm going to take some more raw sienna and some brown. Now we can come to this area. Mixing it with a little bit of blue, the brown. And you can see that, again, my whole focus is just on values. What are my values? Are they light or are they dark? Again, keeping in mind the values. Some light and some dark. Okay, now when we come here, we can go in a, again, these sections, these sections, these sections, these sections. Okay, if you have a bigger brush, you can go together. Okay, so I'm going to wet this area with, again, plain water. I'm going to keep wetting it until I get a very smooth, uniform, wet area, because I don't want any hard streaks. I'm going to go with yellow first. Tiny bit of orange on the side. Here I'm going to go more with raw sienna. As I come down, I'm going to add dark. There's a bit much. I'm just dragging in the colors. Keeping it light. Here it's dark. Wherever it's dark, I'm going to add more color. Okay, that's the golden rule. Wherever it's dark, add more color, add more paint. Wherever it's light, add more water. If the paint is not moving on your paper, add some water. Okay. While this is still wet, I'm going to take some really thick paint and add some these dark areas that will just help mingle all this paint. Just mix by itself. So we let this dry. And then we move on to the details here. Okay. So this is going to dry, and I know it looks quite ugly right now, but it's okay. Once you let it dry, and then when we come back, it'll look different. Okay. So next, what we have to do is to draw all the, we have to darken a few bits here, and then we can do the details here. Okay. So keeping in mind dark, I'm going to use some dark colors. Again, I'll do wet on wet because I think that gives a very soft glow. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to take some reds here. Okay. A little bit of here. Okay. So now we have almost a very dark area and light area contrast here. Okay. And now we just have to, one, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And two, we need to get the details here, the veins. Okay. But we'll just let it dry for like 2 minutes. And then I'll teach you how to do that background blurry effect. Okay. So let it dry for 2 minutes. And then I'll show you how to do the veins. And then just the last bit of it. I know this painting actually needs a little bit of drying time. You cannot speed up. If you have a hair dryer, you can always do that. But that's the way you can do this. And let's see if this is a dry area, so we can do some of the veins here. But yeah, the effect comes out really awesome. You should try this, and especially most of the fruits and leaves, the background comes out beautiful. So I'm going to take a smaller brush now because I need to do the details here. So I'm going to take a smaller brush. Okay. And depending how dark or light it is, I'm going to do the vein here. And again, you don't have to exactly have the same values. You can do a little lighter on the top, darker in at the bottom here where they all connect. You can also do that. Just keep it a little different, a little variant. I'm going to take a little darker green here. And some veins. A bit of a red here. You can also take some dark browns. I'm going to mix a little bit of blue to this dark brown to make it look almost like really nice coffee brown. Give some darker yellow, orange. Again, it has to be dark enough that it shows through. And this is going to dry for some time. But I'll show you how to actually do this blurry effect. Okay, maybe we can do with this one. So with this, what happens is you need to highlight the layers behind it. If you see these circles, these blurs, they are different layers. Okay. The first one here is lighter, then there's little darker, then really darker. And that's what gives it that effect. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that paper towel, wet it in water, and remove some paint here. You can see that. And then a little more from the other side, wherever the circles are. You can see. And there is some more here. That you create around the edges. So we're not here to remove all the paint, but some of the paint. Okay. So what's important is not just removing the paint, but now to make it stand out, to make it glow, that thing, you need to paint around it. You need to paint the layers around it. Okay. Now, if you already see those circles, there are some yellow circles around it, semicircles or circles. Okay. And it's very important that you paint those areas so that they overlap with each other. I'm going to take and add some more layers here. Okay. And I'm going to paint this layer again. Something lighter, something darker. Mix it with a little brown to give it a little different effect. Again, the whole point is you need to keep that light and dark areas different. Do you see that? How it started to glow? And in between these darker areas, those light circles will glow. So that contrast of light and dark is the most important thing in any painting, because that's exactly what we are trying to achieve here to make it look three-dimensional. Okay, same with this. When you make these areas darker, the others will light up. Here it's the same thing. Add some lighter areas. Then you go into the second circle around that latter area, darken it. And around the last area, it's super dark. You can see how they started to light. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit of yellow here just to give that effect. That you're looking for. Now this area is not complete. I'll have to let this dry, come back and darken these areas around this circle to make this one feel that blurry effect. Okay, so it's not complete, but we'll try to finish as much as possible in this sitting, but this is not complete here. Okay. Now, what are we left with here? We done with this. Um, and you can see that this is also glowing because of this contrast. Okay, the light and the dark contrast that we have, this is making this glow. Same here, we need a little bit of darken here so that it glows. Okay, we'll complete this area so that we finish and see at least one small area how it looks when things around it are complete. Do you see the effects are already being seen? Same here, make it dark. Okay. And in between, if you feel something is really dark, you can just take some of that thing, the magic eraser, and you can take some paint off. You see that? See, this is how you get that effect. I think with the leaves, we are not left with much. We got the veins, we got the maybe a little darker. Yeah, I think that's better. And maybe I think this might need a little more of depth because those colors are so muted that they dry and then they start to look a little dull. So maybe a little more. Yeah, so now you can see that this is standing out, right? Because how we adjusted and readjusted our values. Okay, we're almost at the end. If you like, we can add a few splatters here and there. I'll show you how to splatter. Like you take your brush and maybe whatever color, maybe green you can take, and we can add, just take our brush like this, and we can just add in a few splatters here. You can even take some reds here. And you can add some splatter. Just give some effects to it. And just change the painting a little bit. And this way you can add, your own effects to your painting. Again, like I said, let this dry, and then you can go back and add a little more dark here. That way it will uh, glow even this bottom area. But you see how we got the blur effect just with the paper towel or a magic eraser. And again, in watercolors, if you mess something, the best way is to take that magic eraser slightly wet, squeeze out all the water, and you can gently scrub it. Okay, and then you can just dab it with your paper towel. So you can see that how that paint came off, but you have to be very gentle because that paper can really tear off, which you don't want. You see the effects here? So see, we got so many effects here and there that can change the whole painting. Okay. So I think that's it for today. Don't forget to sign your paintings, let it dry, come back and see if you need to readjust a few things. And please let us know what you would like to paint next time. For December 2nd, we're doing this holiday hot chocolate cup with marshmallows and candy cane. Everybody's favorite. It's going to be perfect for kids if they want to join, but you'll love this one. So yes, definitely we're going to do that. And you have any suggestions how we can improve these workshops, please let us know. We would love to take your suggestions and see what we can do for the patrons. We really love that you all enjoy these workshops, and LCPS, as usual, does an amazing job of keeping the artists and the patrons happy with these workshops. And they work so hard to make everyone happy. Believe me, I have never seen this in any other library system. This is so amazing to have in this area. So thank you all so much for joining in.